So now we're in a Black National Treasure movie? I don't know if I can with this show. Lovecraft Country Episode 4 starts with Montrose Freeman drinking alone in the dark. As he falls into a drunken PTSD stupor, we see a montage of him crying hysterically while flipping through old photographs. He's mourning his brother's death, his deceased wife Dora, and remembering the beatings he gave Atticus as a child, as well as the racism he endured throughout his life. We see him reading the bylaws of the Order of the Ancient Dawn, which Uncle George gave to him before he passed. We hear George's voice in the montage tell him to take it to protect our family. The scene ends with him setting the book on fire and saying, "It smells like Tulsa." We learned in episode 2 that he, George, and Dora were survivors of the Tulsa Massacre in 1921. Christina Braithwaite is riding around in her infamous silver Bentley. She's heading to the Winthrop house that she paid for. Bitch better have my money indeed. Letty wants to know what the fuck she's doing there. Before Christina can walk in uninvited, she's immediately stopped by the seal of protection the medium set up last week for the exorcism. Boop. As Christina asks, "Who helped you to evict Hiram?" it dawns on Letty that the money she received for the house came from Christina, not her mother. Christina wants something from the Winthrop house, Hiram's Ori. We were first introduced to the Ori last week when Hippolyta stumbled upon it at the housewarming. Now it's in her possession at the bookstore. She's on the phone with her father, trying to figure out what galaxy could sustain 2 suns, because the solar system on Hiram's Ori has 2. Hippolyta can't get the Ori to move. She thinks it's broken. We know that if Christina wants this thing, there has to be something magical about it. Letty storms into the Southside Colored Library looking for Atticus. She's pissed that Tick tried to kill Christina and didn't bother to tell her that she was the one that gave her the money for the Winthrop house. Tick tells her about Samuel Braithwaite's spell of invulnerability and how he tried to shoot Christina, but the magic wouldn't let him pull the trigger. He deduces that Christina used Atticus to get her father to remove his spell of invulnerability. She wanted her father dead, and Tick was the key to make it happen. The end game for everyone is the Lost Book of Names. There's 2 sets of stolen pages from the Book of Names. Hiram Epstein's pages, which are somehow connected to his Ori, and Titus Braithwaite's pages. Those are hidden in a booby-trapped vault. Tick's at the library doing research to try and find the location of Titus's vault. Letty suggests he talk to his father, who probably already did all of this research in his search for Dora's heritage. Atticus heads to Sammy's bar to find his dad already there with Letty. He admonishes him for even trying to find Titus's pages. In his scolding, he lets it slip that Christina's group is just one of 34 lodges that could be gunning for them. Montrose refuses to help until Letty guilt trips him into telling her that Titus's vault may be near Boston. We see Christina playing her first ever game of hide-and-go-seek with some local children. She must have been deprived of a normal childhood, growing up with the invulnerable Samuel Braithwaite as her father. The police approach her and take her to Captain Lancaster's office. He wants to know why she's in his city unannounced. She doesn't mince words. She came to check out the Winthrop house and convince Hiram's ghost to give her the Ori. She says the Ori is the key to unlocking his time machine. During this whole conversation, someone is crying for help in the closet. Lancaster reminds Christina that women have no place in the Order of the Ancient Dawn, even if she did find the stolen pages. Atticus and Letty are packing up trusty old Woody for their trip to Boston when Montrose walks in with Hippolyta and Diana. Them coming along was not part of the plan, but they need her car. They try to argue discreetly, but Hippolyta is no dummy, and she knows something is up with the 3 of them. She already suspects that they aren't telling her everything about George's death. Just as they are about to pull off, annoying-ass Tree shows up, asking for a ride to Boston to save him the bus fare to Philly. We see Ruby walking confidently into Marshall Field with resume in hand. She's caught off guard when she sees a Black woman already working there. She just started working there yesterday and applied on a whim. Ruby is crushed. There's no chance that they'll hire 2 Black women. Atticus, Montrose, Letty, Hippolyta, Diana, and Tree arrive at the museum in Boston that is supposed to house Titus Braithwaite's hidden vault. Hippolyta and Dee go to the Light of the Universe exhibit. We've seen since episode 1 that these 2 are really into astronomy. Montrose meets up with a security guard he knows to figure out a way to sneak in after dark. Letty and Atticus try to locate the entrance to Titus's vault. He has his own wing of the museum, so Letty figures that would be a good place to start. We learn where Seymour gets his nickname Tree from. According to him, most men have 2 legs, but he has Tree. Letty, in so many words, lets him know that she's aware he lied about them sleeping together in high school. At the Light of the Universe exhibit, Hippolyta shows Dee Hera's chariot, a comet she named unofficially. A white girl named Nancy Studebaker got the credit because the Astronomical Society didn't want a little colored girl to be the face of their naming competition. Regardless, Diana is proud of her mom's accomplishment and shouts it for everyone else in the exhibit to hear. Tick, Letty, and Seymour, I'ma call him by the name his mama gave him, tour the Titus Braithwaite's wing of the museum. Seymour confronts Tick about telling Letty that he lied about having sex with her. He thinks this is payback for episode 1, when he sent Tick out back while Sammy was getting head from that man. Seymour implies that Montrose and Sammy have become real close since Atticus has been gone. Is Seymour just being extra as usual, or could Montrose be gay and keeping it a secret? This makes the question of who Atticus' father is even more interesting. Montrose's security guard friend, who is a friend of Sammy's bar, agrees to let them in the museum through the back door tonight. Back in Chicago, the police are following Christina Braithwaite on orders from Captain Lancaster. A few moments after Christina pulls her silver Bentley into the residence, William walks out. He goes right up to the officers and brutally assaults them, and lets them know that Miss Braithwaite doesn't like to be followed. We go back to Boston. It's nighttime, and Tick, Letty, and Montrose have been let into the Titus wing of the museum. Montrose quickly figures out how to access a hidden door in the Titus statue, almost too quickly. They rappel down to a set of underground tunnels. Atticus says, this is some journey to the center of the earth type shit, which is the exact book the little boy who shushed them was reading earlier. There's words inscribed into the stone, warning all who tread the path that ever the tide shall rise. Letty smashes a glass case to get the map of Titus's voyages. Montrose suggests going west, because Titus pillaged Guyana, but they ultimately decided to go north based on the information Letty read in the brochure. Titus founded the Sons of Adam 2 years after he returned from the West Indies. Back on the south side of Chicago, Ruby is performing her heart and soul out at Sammy's bar, but she barely gets a round of applause. She responds with, well, fuck you too. As she heads to the bar, we see William. He has her tab for the night and quickly asks to join her. He offers to change her life forever. Ruby writes him off as just another white man infatuated with a black woman and isn't impressed by his attempts. Back in the tunnels, Montrose, Letty, and Tick approach a plank. For some reason, they send Letty off first, with only a rope to keep her from plunging to her death. Maybe because she's the lightest, Montrose makes up an elaborate lie about a special knot that was passed down through generations of Freemans to make Letty feel more comfortable. There's a pendulum halfway through that they all have to avoid as the plank is disappearing behind them. How is Montrose going to make it across in his penny loafers? They make it across, but they need a combination to open the next door. At the last second, Montrose figures out the combination. It's the same words he read from the bylaws in the beginning of the episode. Adam named, Eve fucked, God brought forth monsters, monsters devoured, God smites Eve. As they continue down the tunnel, the waters keep rising, just as the inscription warned earlier. Back on the south side, Ruby is complaining about how it should have been her working at Marshall Fields. Had it not been for Letty and her boarding house distracting Ruby, she would have applied before the other black girl. If Ruby had William's skin, it wouldn't have to be a rat race to the finish, her versus other black people. She's drunk and vulnerable, and eventually ends up going home with William. Back in the tunnels, the water is rising faster, and Montrose is frustrating Tick to the point where he calls out Montrose for not sharing everything he knows about the Sons of Adam. Montrose admits that George gave him the bylaws of the Order of the Ancient Dawn before he died, but now it's burned. All of that information now lives exclusively in Montrose's memory. Montrose burned it to protect his family, the same way Tick is trying to find Titus's pages to protect the family. Suddenly, Letty stumbles across the dead body of one of her missing neighbors. They approach an elevator. It's the same one from the Winthrop house. Tick tries to send them up to safety, but Letty reminds him that this is happening to all of them, not just him. They approach another secret door with a severed arm stuck in it. This appears to be the entrance to the vault. Tick removes the arm, puts on the ring Christina gave him, and sticks his arm in. It works. The ring, and or Tick having the blood of Titus, is enough to open a door from above that drops a rope ladder. They've done it. They found Titus's pages. A skeleton is holding them, but as Tick reaches for the pages, the skeleton begins to come to life. It transforms into a woman with a penis, a hermaphrodite, with markings on her face and body. She speaks a foreign language that Tick and only Tick can understand. Jahima is two spirits bonded into one body. In his search to decipher the pages of the Book of Names, Titus captured Jahima because her people could read the ancient text. When she refuses to decipher another word for him, he killed all her people and imprisoned her there. Atticus implores Jahima to help him translate the pages so he can protect his family from the people who are just like Titus. She doesn't fault him for the sins of Titus, but says she will not help. As Montrose grabs the pages and urges them to get the hell out of there, water comes bursting through the windows. They run for their lives, and Atticus grabs Jahima with him as well. The caves are filling with water, and they have to swim their way back to the elevator connected to the Winthrop house. They make it to the elevator, but Titus's pages are almost lost. Letty, saving the day again, swims back for them, even as Montrose is trying to hold her back. The minute they are safely above water, Tick grabs Letty to kiss her, but this sweet moment is interrupted. Jahima can no longer speak, and when she tries, a high-pitched screech is all that comes out. Tick knocks her out immediately. We cut to Hippolyta and Diana, who are driving back to Chicago alone. They wonder how everyone was able to get back to Chicago without Woody. Then Hippolyta notices that Diana has Uncle George's atlas. She sees Devon County circled and does a U-turn. She's heading to Devon County to find out some answers about what happened to her husband. Girl, just go home. Back at the Winthrop house, Tick and Montrose figure out that Titus put a spell on Jahima to prevent her from speaking if she was ever able to escape his vault. Atticus wants to teach her English so that she can write down the language of Adam instead of them trying to decipher it. Montrose praises Atticus for his bravery today and tells him how proud his mom Dora would have been of him. What feels like our first genuine moment of father-son bonding is quickly undercut when Montrose walks behind Jahima and slits her throat. His final words to her are, "I'm sorry," and that's how the episode ends. So what just happened? There are two sets of pages stolen from the Book of Names, one hidden somehow by Hiram Epstein and his Ori time machine. The other is hidden in Titus's secret vault. Christina wants Hiram's Ori so she can use the time machine and get his stolen pages. But Captain Lancaster, who is a member of the Order, doesn't want Christina to succeed. Meanwhile, Tick, Letty, and a reluctant Montrose head to Boston and to Titus's secret vault to find his pages. The mission goes almost as planned, and they free Jahima and secure Titus's pages. But Montrose, determined to protect Tick from himself, kills Jahima before she can translate anything for them. Ruby is upset that another black woman beat her to the Marshall Fields job. She drinks and sings her pain away at Sammy's bar. The same Sammy who may be in a relationship with Montrose, at least according to Seymour. At the bar, William seduces Ruby and brings her home. But what are his plans for her? And how does it factor into Christina's plot to use Hiram's Ori? Back near Boston, Hippolyta and Diana are heading to Devon County in search of answers about Uncle George's death. But she has no idea the kind of danger that may be awaiting her in this sundown county. And keep in mind, the Ori Christina is looking for is in Hippolyta's possession. That's it for episode 4. Did we miss anything? Be sure to leave comments below. And brush up on the whole season by watching our recaps for episode 1 through 3. We'll be back next week with a breakdown for episode 5. So be sure to turn on your notifications so you don't miss it. Thanks for watching the Chitlin Circuit.